How's it going, guys? Mushroom King here. Welcome to this updated farmer's guide. So first off, if you haven't seen the farmer mini guide, you should probably check that out too. This is just adding into it and also probably updating a bit of it. So even if you don't see it, hopefully this will just kind of be a condensed version of that. So let's just get straight into this. So first off, when you get to your crops, obviously people, if you need to figure out how to get a fence, click your NPC finder, and as long as you have a lot of NPCs unlocked, type fence in here. And you can find whichever fence that is going to be rented out. You only have 10 out at a time, so at most it's going to consume 100 CP. One of the things is that in the future there will be another fence called the Old Moon Fence. I don't think it's out in NA yet, but it is out in Korea. I've done some research as well. Basically that fence I think costs 1 less CP, but then it also holds 10 slots and it's smaller. Which is also better because these huge farms are really hard to place down, and it also makes your crops all spread out, which is problematic. One of the things is when you use fertilizer. Fertilizer is about like a 360 AoE, about like kind of like the area of my Kuno's Spin to Win. So it's about this big of an AoE in terms of a circle, just in that area, a circle around this area when you drop. So when you plant your crops, make sure they're all as close to each other as possible towards like the corner of your farms, if you can, so then you don't have to go around dropping fertilizer all over the darn place. It's basically a circle AoE with where you are. It doesn't tag like a whole farm's area. So your crop placement does kind of matter a little bit. Just a little bit. It's not really a big of a deal. I mean, technically when you're tending to your farms like this, you should be just dropping fertilizer anyways. Now the other thing is when you harvest your seeds, if it's at 200%, there's no point harvesting it. It's overgrown. So stuff that I have here, some of it is overgrown, so it's pointless. If you harvest it at 200%, the RNG or your drops or your harvest is basically chopped in about half. So rather than rolling from 20 to 40, you're going to roll about 10 to 20 instead, which is pretty bad. I wouldn't do it, so you probably just want to breed it instead. The byproducts I have found from doing so much farming that the byproducts are completely random, because I know some people are just breed them for byproducts, which is for T9 Horse Awakenings, which is also very beneficial. So basically, farming is pretty much just growing money in Black Desert. It doesn't really cost you anything other than getting the initial setup started, and then you can kind of self-sustain if you want, or you can just continuously rapidly grow if you like. Now, the thing is, the other thing that's available is also mysterious seeds. Mysterious seeds come about just from farming and regular. I don't know if you need a certain tier. I think you might need Artisan before you start seeing them, but I'm uncertain of that. Otherwise, I might be thinking of magical seeds, which aren't in the game in NA version yet. There are seeds that are called magical seeds that supposedly when you shake them together with the current seeds right now, it basically allows you to get a magical seed, takes up 5 slots, and acts like a special seed or whatever seed you mixed it with. It's a little bit different from the mysterious seed. The mysterious seed, basically, when you mix it with a seed and you plant it, it takes up 5 slots, and if you harvest it, you get 7 rolls on it. Or if you breed it, it only turns into fruits of X, so abundance or whatever the fruit is generally gives when you breed it anyways. So you can kind of streamline your fruits that way if you want. But most of the time I found it more beneficial to harvest a mysterious seed plant as opposed to breeding it. You can't remake more seeds of that. But then the magical seeds that aren't out yet, those ones you can breed and re-sustain and replant, and they also have a higher chance of giving byproducts as well when they do come. I have researched this just to make sure that this information isn't like split and inaccurate and people are talking about the same thing. There are actually 2 different mysterious seeds. So, however, that's one of the things you might want to get preparing for is your farming levels, because you do need to be Artisan 1 and higher to at least see the light of magical seeds when they do put it in the game. It's not out as of this guide creation, so there's no way for me to kind of show that to you. It's just more or less something to prepare yourself for. You also need Master 1 if you want to get the Old Moon Fences I was referring to earlier. Those are out in Korea as well, and it's just something to prepare yourself for, because farming is quite a time-gated activity and pretty hard to level up. You kind of just gotta go at it every day. If you send workers to your farms, they will pretty much grow in the time allotted that is given to them, but then you won't get any EXP from it, and they won't generate much of anything else for you other than a little bit of weed every now and then. Yeah. So in terms of the crop stats, another thing you should watch out for is that after breeding and doing farming for a while, moisture level, this moisture level here, if this reaches 0, you don't want to harvest your thing anymore. You want to breed it. There are times where if the area never rains or whatever, the moisture bar will drop repeatedly, like an HP bar. And if this hits 0, there's no way to recover this, by the way. Once it hits 0, your RNG is basically chopped in half as well. So don't harvest at 200% and don't harvest at 0% moisture. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time with your product. It's better to just breed them into seeds at that point. How you keep this water moisture bar from dropping is basically obviously watering the plants. This basically means it's subtracting at a rate of 0.83% every time the server checks. And the server checks, I think, 3 to 5 minutes at a time. I think it might be 5 minutes. But this is basically the rate of how fast it's going to drain. And then this temperature or whatever, it determines how fast it grows or whatever, and how often blighting or whatever happens. I think that has to do with one of these other stats here. But in terms of just growth, I haven't really noticed any difference in terms of areas of where you plant your fences, except for the desert versus the mainland. I wouldn't really want to garden in Medea because this place is rocky and all your farms would just be spread out as hell. If you garden in Valencia, though, the timing for most products is almost doubled. So what took you maybe 3 hours or 2 hours to grow in Velium would take you like 4 to 8 hours in Valencia. While some people like to have their crops grow longer just so that they can prune it more and pesticide more, I don't see a point in that, because as long as your stuff is continuously growing, it doesn't really matter. It's going to get blighted either way, or riddled with bugs one way or another, regardless of how slow or how fast it grows, because it's checked on a server cycle time. If anything, the faster it grows, the more product you get, and the more seeds you can get, and the more byproducts you can get, as well as fruits as you tend to your farm repeatedly. So I don't see a point in trying to make your crops grow as slow as possible. You should really just, in my opinion, grow it as fast as possible, but do whatever you wish. I mean, that's just a suggestion, and this is more of like just an info of telling you, these are the things you should watch out for so that you can get the most out of your farms. If you don't have enough CP to obviously take out 100 CP worth of fences, you don't need to try and fill out all 10. Try and make the best of your CP as well. The most cost efficient one is obviously the 6 slot fences that give you 7 slots. But if you need to exceed past 6 slot farms, like 10 of them, then you're gonna have to start upgrading to the 10 slot farms. Other than that, also try and get the free ones as well from the NPCs from time to time. So you can just keep planting these and have as many farms as you have available. And in terms of just main products, I don't really, like, some people will be like, oh, what are you growing? Sometimes I grow haystacks if I don't really want to look at it very often, but then I'm trying to level it up like crazy, so that's why I have like all these strawberries here. And strawberries grow really fast for me, so that's why I put them down. Let's see, it's about 5 hours to grow it, assuming it doesn't get riddled with bugs. When something gets riddled with bugs, it grows at about half its rate. So technically, if I go to sleep and this gets riddled with bugs, which is fine, I'll tend to it in the morning. So, because if I tend to it all throughout the night, or I send a worker on it and keeps it unriddled, if I oversleep, then my product's gonna grow to 200%, and then that means I shouldn't have to harvest it, because that means I just lost my product by 50%. So there's no point harvesting it. Might as well just breed it if it's at 200%. But if it's riddled with bugs, sometimes it does help you out and slow down the growth rate so it doesn't overgrow. And then the moisture, as long as this doesn't hit 0 when I grab it, it'll be as much product as possible. Another thing is that as your level goes up, the formula for the farming time starts at a base of 5 seconds. I've noticed that it also subtracts by about at a rate of 0.022 seconds or 25, somewhere about there. Per level. So at about Artisan 7, it's about 3.7 seconds to tend to your farm. So the higher level you go, the faster this is going to take, basically, and more time you save and less time you spend in your garden, and more of everything else that you want to get. So this is why farming, I find, is to be very, very important, or very, very simple to set up. I mean, you just drop a few fences wherever you are, close to areas where you're close to. I mean, I've known people who go farming at Gahaz as well. If you grind at Gahaz a lot, just plant it by the villas and have yourself a blast. It's also a nice decent income of like sharps and hard shards, which you can use for enhancing your higher end gear. So that's a bit of an update upon this, and I hope that gives you some insight and something to prepare for in future updates in Black Desert. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all next time, and I hope this helped you out. So bye bye for now.